Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger. He's a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. I wonder what you thought of the president's attacks on two key members of his own party in their home state of Arizona, especially Senator John McCain, a war hero, someone who has served the country for so many years, who right now is battling brain cancer, going through very extensive medical treatment, did not even wish Senator McCain a speedy recovery.
Yeah, it's disappointing is probably the most nice thing I can say about that. John McCain, I've gotten to know him since I've been in Congress, and he and I have grown to become friends. And I'll tell you, even if we don't agree on every issue, I have no doubt that this is a man that every vote he takes because he thinks it's the right thing for his country. Even if I disagree with a vote he takes, it's the right for his country. He's been an amazing leader when it comes to foreign policy and America's role in the world and strength, and not to mention his heroism in the war. He's told me stories about what he's been through, what he's gone through, and I just look at him and say, man, if I could only have about half the courage you ever had in my life. And when I went through a survival training, they tell stories of people like John McCain and what they endured to train us and how to deal with, hopefully, which never happens, but inevitable capture. And so in a disagreement with Senator McCain over a vote on the repeal and replace bill, at least say, wish him a speedy recovery. You can call him out and say, I wish he'd have voted yes. But to go after him, as he's repeatedly done in the past, is surprising. And then Jeff Flake, I mean, I think Jeff Flake, from what I know, voted for the repeal and replace and, has just been critical of President Trump. So these attacks within our own party, what we need to do now, we need to unite our party, and then our party needs to focus on uniting a very divided country, because on both sides of the aisle, frankly, everywhere, passions are being so ignited right now. This doesn't end with one side saying, oh, the other side's right, I guess they got angry enough that we learn. It ends in violence, and it ends in a place that this country's been at before that we never want to go to again.
Let's go through some other elements of the president's speech. He really went after the news media, and I'm going to play two clips, what he said last night in terms of his reaction to the Charlottesville disaster, and what he actually said. Listen to this.
Here's what I said on Saturday. We're closely following the terrible events unfolding in Charlottesville, Virginia. This is me speaking. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. That's me speaking on Saturday. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
All right, he left out the on many sides, and elsewhere he didn't mention what he actually said during that news conference a week ago, Tuesday, when he said there were very fine people on both sides, among the white supremacists as well as the counter-protesters. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I mean, my reaction's unfavorable. I condemned the Charlottesville remarks. I said there's no place for neo-Nazis, KKK, white supremacy of any kind, and President Trump should clarify his remarks and make that clear. I was confused yesterday in the rally, and I didn't watch all of it, but the doubling down on revisiting that, I thought he gave a really good speech on Afghanistan, and then to change the news cycle again and say what he said is confusing to me. I mean, this is a time we have to look to a president, whether it's President Obama, President Trump, or whoever the next president's going to be. We have to look at a president and say, at a time when there's dissension in the country and there's real division, we need somebody that's going to unify. Not unify everybody behind every political ideology. We're always going to have different political ideologies, but at least bring the temperature down. And I get that it felt like a campaign rally, but some of the comments yesterday, I think, didn't do anything to calm these flames that are just burning right now in the greatest country in the world.
When you get back to Washington after Labor Day, one of the first things you and your colleagues in the House and Senate are going to have to do is raise the nation's debt ceiling so the country doesn't default on its outstanding obligations here in the United States and around the world. But the president said this last night. Listen.
Believe me, if we have to close down our government, we're building that wall.
I'll just repeat it. He says, if we have to close down the government, we're building that wall. What's your reaction, linking, in effect, a government shutdown, defaulting on the nation's debt, avoiding raising the debt ceiling, to a commitment from Congress to pass legislation to build the wall?
So there are two separate issues. The actual government shutdown has a big psychological impact, and I think it really hurts our role in the world too, because it looks like we're dysfunctional when we're talking to other countries about how they need to govern. A default is unthinkable. If you remember back when we were close to, we actually ended up doing this Budget Control Act, but we were approaching the issue of the debt limit. The stock market actually fell thousands of points. This is a real confidence issue. The debt limit isn't spending money. It's just paying your credit card bill of money already spent. We need structural reform and spending in this country for sure. But it's a big concern. So, look, shutting down the government over a wall, anytime we talk about shutting the government's wrong. I'll support funding for border security. I've worked the border. It needs to be secure. I don't necessarily think it needs to be a wall, but you can do virtual fencing and fencing in walls and areas. But to threaten government shutdown a month before, to even toy with it, I think is dangerous for the confidence of the markets, and it's dangerous for our role in the world as we're talking to nations like Afghanistan to say, here's how you govern yourself.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, thanks for joining us.
Anytime.